All right, welcome back to another episode of the Arturia MiniBrute 2 Cookbook tutorial series that I'm doing, that I still have not found a good flowy name for. Today's episode is By the Sea by Victor Morello. This is a self-playing patch that simulates the sound of waves swelling over a sand beach. Noise is being used as the sound source, softened by the low-pass filter, while the looping envelope emulates the swell. Adjust the attack and decay of the AD envelope to control the size of the waves. So, as always, we got to start with a neutral patch. Let's get that going. Okay. Yeah, all right. Let's make sure everything's still recording. Get everything back to normal. The last patch we were doing was Master Slap, which was meant to sound like kind of like a slap bass, and it worked pretty well. I liked it. It was a fun one. So let's unhook everything here. So we got to start off with a sound, with an actual tone, right? And so the noise oscillator is actually going to be doing most of the business here. It's going to be doing most of the work. Okay. So if we go for a sound, what do we got? Just some noise, right? Well, if we sweep this filter, and kind of like modulate it ourselves, that already kind of sounds like waves, like at the beach, you know what I mean? So but what we're going to do here is we're going to make it a little more, give it a little more edge, a little more timbre, a little more life, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get that cut off. We're going to put it about, I don't know, maybe the 10 o'clock, 10:30 position, something like that. We're just going to leave it there for right now, okay? The next thing we're going to do is we need to get that to move, right? Just like the way we were doing a second ago. So we're going to do that by using the attack and decay envelope. So let's go AD out. Now we're going to go into the inverter for this, and I'll explain why in a second, okay? Now when it comes out of the inverter, then we're going to go into the, where's it going? Out of the inverter into the, that's it, the attenuator 1, which goes directly into the cutoff filter, right? So now, we can adjust should be able to adjust. There we go. How the filter goes up and down. So we add some resonance to that. Give it a real long attack and decay. Might need to bring the volume up a little bit here. Put some brute factor on it. Oh, here's the other thing too. The AD needs to be on trigger and loop. Turn that amplitude knob up, the AT2, right? So that it kind of just keeps going on its own. Then you kind of adjust to taste, right? So how quickly are the waves going to come in, right? That's where you need the attack and decay. Now, why do you need it inverted? Well, if you didn't invert it... there we go, yanking cables the wrong way again. It just doesn't seem to hit the same way, right? Could also make like some gunfire noises with it, but you know what I mean? So if you invert it, it's just the way that the modulation kind of ramps up the curve involved. It seems to make more sense. It seems to work better inverting your attack and decay, because it kind of, you can hear the wave kind of gradually crash and then bump them camera. You can hear the wave gradually crash and then recede back, you know what I mean? It just kind of makes a little more sense. Okay, so I've just kind of discovered another way to kind of do it. Still using the attack and decay envelopes. But if you put it into the frequency modulation for your cutoff, you still get essentially the same result. It's not exactly the same, but it's close enough, right? So anyway, so then what we do, or what we can do, is if we take LFO2 here, go into, we use attenuator 1 since we're not using that for the cutoff now. Take that out, go to the decay. Let's just turn this up so we can hear what's happening. So LFO2 is going to adjust the decay of the sound ever so slightly. And that's just going to give it a little bit of like a little more realism, right? Kind of. If you just listen over time, it's going to swell a little bit differently, right? Let's go with it. If we jack this up, you can really hear it, right? As our LFO, you can see the light kind of peaking and spiking, right? So just turn that down, let it smoothly adjust that decay, right? Bring it down just a little bit. Maybe that was too much. There we go, something like that, right? And then, as you can hear, as it just keeps going, it's just building its own little set of, you know, kind of randomly generated waves, right? I mean, it still sounds pretty mechanical, but like, not like if we were to put an actual tone into it, then it's just a little too much, right? But, so you can, you know, adjust the brute factor. Really get some really windy sort of, you know, howly. It kind of almost sounds like a, as it swells up, it almost sounds like wind, like overloading a, you know, a windscreen on a microphone, you know, kind of deal. So, and then of course the pitch doesn't do anything for this because it's, you know, noise modulation, or it's just noise, and so there's not really, I mean, you can FM it. That doesn't really do anything either. You know what I mean? Because again, it's just noise. So, and I don't think the noise oscillator is actually mixed to go through or wired to go through this anyway. I'm not. I could be wrong. I don't know. If you know that it is and you can set me straight on that, that'd be great. But you know, as it stands, this is the sound. It's just, you know, just kind of sounds like you're sitting by the sea. Add this to a little bit of, you know, just a tiny bit of like, maybe like a slight bit of cave reverb, like just to simulate the sound hitting rocks in the distance or something, maybe. I don't know. You could play around with that, see if that sounds, that might sound bad actually, but it might sound badass. You won't know until you try it, right? So, as always, experiment, play around with it. You know, put some seagulls in the background and maybe some kids laughing, running along the beach or whatever. You know, you listen to this, you wouldn't even know that this is it's a chunk of silicone and metal sitting on my desk. You're like, oh, I'm sitting at the beach, right? So there you have it. By the sea for all of your soundscape by the sea beach needs. Sandy! Experiment, play around, have fun, be creative, be kind. Bye!